What's going on, everybody? Welcome out to the show today. We are ready to rock and roll right off the bat. We got a couple of good topics to bring up for today. We got some stuff to talk about from the community page that was posted earlier this week. And hopefully we get some participation today. See Drag's on already. We got Nikki, the moderator. And hopefully it turns out to be a good show today. So I am stoked, ready to rock and roll. I'm a little tired. Did yard work today. Got out on the bike. So interesting week. I had a pretty decent video about historical people that are tattooed. It did pretty good. A lot of positive feedback from that episode. And, can't ask for a better response than that. So,
there's a great picture of it's of a flapper, so 1920, 1930s.
Yeah.
She's tattooed, laying back on a couch. I think she's smoking opium, because she has like not an opium pipe, but like a longer pipe, and she has a monkey. It's a beautiful black and white photograph. And I look at something like that, and I think, what must they have been like? Like people that were tattooed way, way before it was acceptable. Like when it was still in the carnivals and still in the prisons, and there weren't even bikers at that point. It literally was probably sailors, pirates.
Yeah.
And
well, dude, and I think that's one of the things that I talked about was the fact that there were like aristocrats and like hoity-toity people getting tattoos that you would normally not think of being that type of person. And it kind of brought up a good subject that you and I talked about that we're going to bring up with you guys today. Since we have a couple people in here, and we'll hang out for a minute or two before we dive into the questions, but it did bring up a pretty solid point that have we gotten to a point right now with tattooing that it's a fad that's going to start to dissipate?
Not tattooing itself, but the overall sort of socially acceptable front and center.
Got to have a tattoo.
Right.
Right.
Not underground tattooing, not people that are serious, not people that are more serious about tattooing. I don't mean to say more serious, but
okay.
The tattooed.
Yeah.
You and I versus.
Well, so it's one of those things where you and I have actually said this in general conversation with ourselves about.
Speaking to each other, not speaking to ourselves.
Well, I do that as well, but more like it's almost at the point right now where you have an easier time finding somebody without a tattoo than you would with a tattoo.
A harder time.
Yeah. Sorry, I had it backwards.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, with it being like that, has it gotten to the point where tattoos are almost cliche?
So I saw a comedian. I thought this was pretty interesting. This guy said that when it comes to tattooed people, if you're a 20-year-old with sleeves, he thinks of you one way. And if you're a 60-year-old with sleeves, he thinks of you a very different way.
Right. So you're probably lived a completely different lifestyle than a 20-year-old kid that has, and I'm not knocking anybody that's 20 that has tattoos, but because of the time frame of it, there was a difference back 20 years ago.
Even in the 90s.
Right.
Even in the 80s and 90s.
Of tattooing compared to now. So if you see a 50-year-old guy or whatever walking around with tattoos compared to a 20-year-old walking around with tattoos, that, is there a different look that you give them? I don't want to say treat them differently, because I think, everybody should be treated the same. Doesn't matter your age or whatever. But is there something about that older guy or girl brings a little extra mystique to it?
Yeah, it tells me something about their personality. You got 20, 30-year-old tattoos on you.
And it's almost kind of like one of those, you got it, you did it, before it turned into this popularity thing.
Yeah. I mean, again, not knocking modern generations or whatever, but did you ever think that there would be Ink Master shows?
No, not at
I
all.
mean, did that even enter into your realm of thinking?
I mean, for me, I thought it was crazy when I found out that there was tattoo magazines, because I, you know, really before I started like really diving into this tattoo culture, the only time I saw tattoos in a magazine
Was in Easy Riders.
right was, you know, Easy Rider,
Outlaw Biker.
yeah, and then there was the East Coast biker or whatever, Laz.
Iron Horse. I don't know.
Yeah, nah, Laz, he did, it was East Coast something. I forget what it was called, but.
Yeah, so the first tattoo articles that I saw in magazines were just some random article in an Easy Rider magazine, couple page spread.
Right, it wasn't necessarily a magazine just specifically for tattoos.
And then came Tattoo Magazine, which was still super biker influenced. But then after Tattoo Magazine came Skin and Ink and International Tattoo Art. And they were definitely like, that was the early 90s, so they were definitely like a little more highbrow. They were getting, you could definitely tell there had been a cultural shift sort of in the tattoo community itself.
It became more about the art
Yeah.
than the people that are wearing the
Right.
art.
I mean, it was still, I think, an
I get that.
underground thing, but
So Drag just said, I got my first one 32 years ago, and I was a gangster.
nice.
Nikki, my oldest tattoo, is 27 years old. So, yeah, I mean,
Did anybody else go home after they got their first tattoo and like stand in the mirror like this? You know what I mean? Do one of these?
I think I did it while I was still there. Yeah, well, because mine was on my upper arm. So I remember specifically wearing a T-shirt without sleeves just so I could have
Fucking A right, dude.
have my tattoo hanging out. I was only, 18 or whatever at the time. But yeah, I was all, what's crazy though is I had dudes that I played football with. They were two brothers, and their dad was like one of the old school badasses in my town, and they had tattoos while we were playing ball, so they were still in high school. So their dad had to have signed for them to go get ink. And, we all were like, holy shit, dude, that's that's badass, dude. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, we all couldn't wait. Because I know my parents weren't signing no paperwork. My parents were so against tattoos. And then I got my first tattoo at my first year of college, and I actually got my tattoo with financial aid money that I was supposed to spend on books.
Absolutely. Higher education, baby.
And I wound up getting it, and when I came home and I told my parents that I'd gotten it, I was kind of nervous, and then my dad was like, let me see it. And my dad he was just like, dude, that's awesome. Like, he loved it. So I was like, huh, okay. Like, I thought he was going to be totally, like, bent out of shape, pissy. And then, as years go by or whatever, my mom would always just be like, oh, don't get anything below your elbow in case you ever have to get a real job, and blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, I was in the music business making ridiculous money. But I didn't have a real job. So, yeah, whatever. But
as tattooed as I am, like, when I put the little 13 on the left side of my face, my mom blew a fucking gasket. I mean, I'd already been tattooing at that point probably 20 years, and was covered, sleeved, back, chest, throat. But I put this tiny ass 13 on next to my eye, man.
Okay.
She was not happy.
I was just making sure your
Mic was on?
Yeah, no, it's on. I seem like I'm a little louder than you.
It's because he's leaning towards you and his mic's on that side.
All right. So
Change it?
yeah, just
Okay.
since you're talking to this side. Hold on, let me mute it so this way. All right, all right, all right. There
So I have this whole funny story I go through, right?
You're good now.
Where, I don't know. I just got this whole funny story about my mom and me.
No, go ahead.
David.
I want to actually put the question up on the screen while you're telling it. So this way, I'm listening. I just don't want anybody thinking I'm not paying attention to you.
So, you know, my mom was like, Justin, like, if you're going to get tattooed, don't get your throat tattooed. And I was like, all right, Mom, what do you think? I'm a nut? I'm not a crazy person. And I came home with my throat tattooed. And she was like, all right, all right. Then she's like, whatever you do, Justin, don't get your hands tattooed. I was like, what am I, a crazy person? I'm not going to get my hands tattooed. And I got my hands tattooed. And she was like, okay, okay. And then my little tiny Italian mom was like, if you get your fucking face tattooed, my little nice, I mean, she got like all gangster for a second, man. She was pissed. I was like, what am I, crazy? I'm not going to get my face tattooed.
The thing that you've told me that story before, man, and the thing that blows me away with that is the fact that you were actually a tattoo artist.
Absolutely, like a career tattoo artist.
You know what I mean? Like you were in the thick of it at that point. So it's not like you were going to stop doing it and, you know, go get a job, you know, managing a grocery store or something.
TJ Maxx?
Oh, I don't know if anybody else saw that video or the story, I'm sorry, this week, but I'm actually going to do a video on that. That's why we had a good chuckle about that.
So I sort of half-ass looked up cultural trends.
Okay.
And they seem to last about 10 years. And you were right when I asked you about music trends. Music trends go faster.
Yeah, for sure. I would say music probably, I'm going to say 5 years tops.
Because no one wants to listen to the same music that their older brother and sister listen to, right?
Well, I did. I mean, but here's the thing. Like, think of it in this perspective of there was a good run of maybe 10 years of hair bands. And then, honestly, I mean, I would say there was a death rattle happening for hair bands. And
yeah, I mean,
all
once,
of a sudden,
yeah, once,
grunge came out.
Once that dude, Winger. I was like, yeah, I'm going to listen to Black Flag now.
I'm just saying, I never even listened to those bands because I was still doing the classic rock, heavy metal stuff. I was doing heavy stuff.
Yeah, no, I never listened to Winger either.
So, like, to me, it was like, you know, man, those guys, the grunge came out and it just crushed those dudes. And, but then you look at that and then you go, well, how long did grunge really last? I mean, you still have bands that are around till this day of Pearl Jam, you know, a repurposed Alice in Chains.
A decade?
Maybe. I mean, I think that the trends of stuff, and I'm not talking about a genre because I think that people thought when rap first came out it was going to be a flash in the pan and then but it didn't. And then all of a sudden, those inside that genre, it just kept changing as it went. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying genres, I'm saying styles.
Right.
To me, it's like, I think that is the same thing of tattoos. I think I don't think it's ever going to go away, the popularity of it. I think what'll happen is it'll just keep recycling the styles.
So I saw an interview with Dio from the 80s. And for those of you that don't know, Dio played with the guys from Deep Purple and then sang for Black Sabbath. And in this video in the 80s, he was like, I resent that I have to be grouped in with Skid Row and Winger and Poison, and that's called heavy metal now. That's not the music we made. I mean, and he had sang with Sabbath, right? So he was legitimate. And,
yeah.
And Dio on his own was metal. I mean, the grandfather of metal. But I'm watching this video clip, and I'm thinking, he sounds like fucking tattooers now. He sounds like old, crusty-ass tattooers now.
See, but I think that's going to happen.
Is that just everything? Like every industry?
That's exactly where I was going to go with that.
Nah.
I mean, you know, I think you could just pick any industry out of a hat, and you're going to have that. painters. There's going to be painters that are like, you know what, man, I still want to use brushes and rollers. And there's going to be new guys that are like, hell no, I can spray a house in 20 minutes. And they're going to complain that it's not right and it doesn't look right. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I think that, you know, I'm sure there's, you know, chefs,
yes.
that are like, oh, all these new chefs are walking around with tattoos and hoops in their ears and blah, blah, blah. When, you know, Wolfgang Puck was still wearing his white, tight chef thing and his hat and his, you know what I mean? Like,
remember that English chick on the Food Channel?
Julia Child?
They used to start every recipe with like, we take 1.5 pounds of butter, like that fat. She's like a big English lady.
I don't remember. No.
Yeah, but every recipe was like, we take some butter, and she'd like fucking throw a cow in there.
But so, you know, I think any industry you're going to get that. I think that, you know, tattoos themselves are going to start to maybe, you know, swing back to
You think it'll be
traditional
better?
again. And who knows, man? I think what's going to happen is and this is my own opinion, I'm not a tattoo artist, so I don't know the ins and outs of why or whatever, but from conversations I've had with you, Baba, like multitude of different artists, Shane, you know what I mean? Like, there's these discussions that have been had about the new tattoos and how they're not going to they possibly might not last as long as traditional work. And that's because traditional work is tried and true. And I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. I think, you know, the stuff you're using's changed, the ink has changed. So there's a multitude of different factors that might not actually, you know, make that come to fruition.
But the argument is it's about rules of the medium. Like in all art, right? Like you don't paint with watercolors the way you paint with acrylic, and you don't paint with acrylic the way you paint with oil. They're different mediums, even though they're similar mediums. They just have different curing times and different ways they interact with each other. And it's the same thing with tattooing. Like in the end, if there's no black lines.
Well, we're going to get into that in a minute.
Right. Or at least black areas.
You know, that in that argument, I'll bring up Bob Ross. As funny as it's going to sound, but
you mean the tree guy?
Yeah, man, with the fro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy little tree.
He actually perfected a style that was done by this German guy. I don't know the guy's name, but he perfected this style of wet on wet, which apparently, from a artist painter perspective, was not. You weren't really supposed to do that.
You weren't supposed to do that.
It was supposed to be you do whatever, wait, let it dry. You do the next round, wait, let it dry. And he perfected this wet on wet. And there were other artists that were like, oh, this guy's a sham, blah, 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 blah. And look how big that dude got.
See, because I thought the point of oil paint was that you can still move it.
I don't know. I don't know enough about painting, but I'm just saying, I mean, there you go. That's just another example of another industry that had their little hurdle that they had to get over.
You ever hear the conspiracy theory about his paintings? If you look at them in order. You ever hear that?
It's the same.
No, it's a whole journey through one continuous. It's a cohesive landscape. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
right on.
Yeah, there's the mountainous paintings and then where you hit the bodies.
So the thing is,
And here's a happy little corpse.
Fro, dude, you know exactly who he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you could do a little outline character, and you would be like, that's Bob Ross. Or that's the mushroom dude from Super Mario Brothers. But, all right, so we got Crusades of Motion. What's up, man? Thank you for stopping in.
Motivation.
Crusades of Motivation. Sorry, dude. So Crusades is a newer tattoo artist that's been watching our live stream and been watching our the videos. He's digging the fact that we do a lot of history stuff, a lot of background stuff, and he's been super supportive. Man, I can't talk today. Of the page.
What's going on, man?
I don't know, dude. I'm like all gerfuddled.
Gerfuddled.
But yeah, man, so thanks for stopping in, dude. Much appreciated. But yeah, so we're going to get into that whole no lines thing here in a minute. You know, that's definitely something that we wanted to bring up, something today that was actually part of the community question that I posted this week, which was, I posted two, so we're going to go over the first one. And that was, what do you think about tattoo artists that doctor their photos they publish on Instagram, Facebook, or X to boost social credit or tattoo clout? And it was it was weighted towards false advertisement that creates false expectations.
Absolutely.
There were a couple people that did vote, don't care either way as long as my tattoo looks like the picture. But a majority of the people thought that that was false advertisement. So, Drag just said they suck.
They absolutely fucking do. Why doesn't it look like the stuff I see on Instagram? Because it's not Photoshop, bro. That's why.
Yeah, well, so I'm going to attempt to do this live while we're talking. And let's see if this works. So, we're going to throw up the first picture. Now, apparently this has been doctored via Photoshop. On the left is the picture posted, and on the right is the picture in real life. And these were supplied by the Tattoo
Truth Fairy on
Tattoo
Instagram.
Truth Fairy.
On Instagram.
So you can see that there's a definite difference where they're applying some type of filter on there to show more contrast.
Polarized.
There you go.
A polarized filter.
So that's the first one.
So now with this picture, naturally as a fresh tattoo, it's gonna have deeper contrast than a heel tattoo. That's just the nature of black and gray work. But the fact that it's so different, that the lights and the darks are so extremely different, yeah.
Okay.
That's not realistic.
Well, and you know
And if I went into an artist expecting the first and got the second, I'd be fucking pissed.
So the thing is, though, and this isn't a good example, but usually you can tell when a picture's been doctored when you look around the tattoo. Does the other skin look wonky? Is there maybe like if they're down on a not white sheet, but like like paper towel is there? Is the paper towel off? There's like things you can kind of like look for, but I've also seen it where they've done really good about like doing a cutout of it, so there's it's just black behind it, so there's no other thing to compare it to. All right, let's go to the second one. So here we have another example of, it looks like it's a gray wash with color.
Yeah, it's photorealistic portrait.
And that is pretty different.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
And I mean, and again, like, if you showed me the tattoo done fresh and the tattoo healed, of course it's going to heal into the skin. It's going to dull out a little bit as the pigment settles and everything, but there's no way that the first tattoo naturally healed to the second tattoo. That's bullshit, man. Because this is gonna set like
false expectations.
And if you don't know tattooing, right? If you don't know tattooing, and this is what you expect, you're gonna be disappointed.
So people also need to understand though, and I've seen a lot of tattoo artists do this to kind of back up their work, where they'll do a fresh and a healed, 90-day healed or whatever, and they'll pinch it and do all that just to be like, look, this is legit. This is not, you know what I mean? You gotta respect that.
So Nico Hurtado is probably one of the best photorealistic artists in the world right now, right? Nico was one of the guys. Remember the Day of the Dead girls that went all around the internet?
Yeah.
They were just fucking beautiful. Those were all Nico's. Not all Nico's, but a lot of them were Nico's work. And he'll post his stuff healed. With no, he has a whole thing about this is what it looks like in shitty lighting on an iPhone.
Right.
With no lights, no background. This is what it looks like. And it's fucking incredible. It's still a photorealistic tattoo.
Right, but then you go to that person, you're going to get exactly what you're expecting.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that these people can't do that. This is just an example of, doctoring of photos. So, all right, you want to go to the third one?
Sure. This one's fucking crazy.
All right. So this one, that looks like a completely different tattoo.
That's insane. Yeah.
I don't even know, that is, I wonder how old were we talking? You know what I mean? I wish that the Tattoo Truth Fairy would post at least give you some kind of time frame, because to me that actually just looks like it just didn't age well. Maybe the person didn't.
That actually just looks like a healed. Okay. Sort of.
You would know better than me, man. But wow, that is crazy. So
the thing with black and gray work ultimately is the level of contrast, right? We need our super dark spots and our super light spots to give it a 3D effect, just like when we use graphite pencils. If I use the same graphite pencil on an entire sheet, I just end up with a gray surface, you know what I mean? Mm. There has to be some differences in tone. I just obviously the first tattoo is just, if you go on the Tattoo Truth Fairy, he actually shows an example. Somebody sends him in. It's an Egyptian tattoo of a sarcophagus. And the guy shows him darkening certain areas, smoothing out the tones in certain areas, adding white highlights to certain areas. And the disparity in the video between the first and the end product is amazing, man.
But he's showing you
how to do it.
The steps.
Yeah, he's not saying this is what I do to my tattoos. He's just showing you how possible it is. I think it's on a phone. I don't even think it's in a Photoshop program.
So this is going to actually go right into segue into the next thing that we wanted to talk about, which is this perfect segue. So there needs to be an expectation when you walk into a tattoo shop that you've done your research. You should know right away when you walk into a shop, if you go to a traditional shop, you can't expect a traditional tattoo artist to do photorealism. Or you can't go to a photorealism shop and expect them to do, I don't know, man, good lettering. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. It comes down to the person getting the tattoo of doing their due diligence. Now, there are shops out there that are flat out tell you, we'll do whatever walks in the door, man. We will, and they will. I know of a couple different shops where they're just hey, man, we'll give it our best shot at doing whatever comes through the door, and you got to respect that. But there are plenty of artists out there that are hey, man, that might not be what I do best. And you can't get pissy with the artist when they say that to you, because you should have done your due diligence and did your research before you walked in there.
So there's a couple things. My generation of tattooers tried to be able to do everything that people would want, because
a typical street shop, right?
Because we worked in street shops. And a lot of times, especially when I read about the generation of guys that came before me, the idea is that this is the work you did to make your living, and this is the work you did on your friends. In the 70s, guys coming in for huge Japanese pieces were probably pretty few and far between.
Right.
That was what tattoo artists did on their own people. But now, it's like Crooked Ken, right? Crooked Ken works out of Maryland, Fucking great guy. We sat with him out at the One Tattoo convention, talked to him for a little while. But on his website, he says that I am a Coleman-style tattooer. And if your idea will not work as a Coleman-style tattoo, I'm just not interested in doing it. And then he has to go on to say, not saying it's a bad idea, right? So he's really he's very fair-handed about it. Because people do get abrupt. Like, why can't you do this fucking tattoo? And it's like, I just don't like to do tattoos like that. Like, I, for instance, hate to do fucking lions. I hate lions. Hate to do lions, won't do lions. Just don't like doing lions.
Right, because you feel like the hair or whatever.
Yeah, because there's other artists that will be able to do a lion 10 times better than me because they like doing it. So, just out of respect for the customer, go to the guy that does the best job, man.
So the folks that are in the audience right now that are actually tattoo artists, I mean, tell us what you guys think about that, as far as, you know, not being comfortable with the style, or, you know, having the clientele, you know,
Get abrupt.
Should they have done their research first and before they walked into your shop? Let us know. Let us know in chat.
And then the other thing is I had a guy come in one time and complain about a shop down in Philadelphia. Because this dude walked into a shop that specializes in, like, certain kinds of work. And he ended up wanting, he got like a heart with a name or a tribal piece or something. And they fucking banged him. They banged him hard. Like, they banged him for like $600 on a $200 tattoo. And he was bitching about it. And I was like, well, you wandered into a shop where they have no interest in doing that kind of work.
And they told you.
And they probably told you, and they said, but if you insist, give us the fucking money, we'll do the work.
So, I think that actually segues into the next topic that we have.
Did I tell you the story about the Harley Eagle?
No, go ahead.
About the drunk guy with the Harley Eagle? Never told you that story? So a guy comes into the shop years ago, right? And it was getting towards winter time, so it was getting thin, right? And you can't tell drunks that you won't tattoo them. You can't, right? Because then they want to fight with you, right?
Belligerent.
Yeah. Then you got to throw them out the shop and whatever. So guy comes in and he wants an eagle with an American flag with a Harley Davidson shield. And he, you know, he's like shit-faced. He's like, how much for this? This is like 1991.
Okay.
1998, or I'm sorry, this is late 90s. I'm like, I don't know, man, $450 or $700 or whatever it was, but real money. Like, real money. And he goes, fucking A right, and he peels it off, right? So now I'm faced with a decision as a tattooer. Do I take the $700 and tattoo the drunk guy, or do I, you know, not? And so I'm tattooing the drunk guy, right? And
so that answers my question.
Right, I'm tattooing the drunk guy. And I go, hey, bro, so what kind of bike you got, man? You got like a Softail? You got like a Road King? You got like, what kind of Harley you got? And he goes, I don't have a Harley. And I'm like, you better go out and get one, because you're going to wake up tomorrow morning with a big old Harley Davidson tattoo on your arm.
Why would you do that if you don't ride? Like, if that's not your thing.
I don't know.
Look, man, it goes on what we were talking about
I paid rent, though.
or whatever.
I know that.
You know what I mean? Like, who am I to say who gets what? It's, I guess, if that's what you want, man, that's what you want, dude. I don't get it, but especially that, dude. That's kind of like one of them.
And never tattoo drunks, kids. Bad. Tattooing drunks is bad. Unless you can make a lot of money, and then it's...
Well, I've had multiple, you know, I forget who it was that actually commented, hey, Artie, thanks for stopping in. You know, talk about, you know, not wanting to do tattoo drunks and drug addicts and whatever because they stink, they're belligerent, and, you know, they don't sit still. I mean, there's like a multitude of different reasons.
So a guy came in last weekend, and my shop is located between 3 different bars, right? And he came in and he was like, hey, I was thinking about getting tattooed, you know, I'm thinking about a Jesus sort of Egyptian Ra thing, right? So I was like, you're fucked up, homie. That's what I thought to myself. And I was like, well, we're closing, right? And I got him out the door because, yeah, I didn't want to deal with him. I didn't want to tattoo a drunk guy.
I'm going to pose a question to you all in the audience. We're going to put it up on screen as well. But this is something that Justin and I were talking about the other day that we thought would be a good question for you guys as the listeners. If you had multiple tattoo artists in your area, would you be able to spend, or how did we word it? So, would you pay somebody $250 an hour for a tattoo? I'm not talking about, famous tattoo artist or whatever. We're talking about your average Joe person. So expand on that while I put it up in chat real quick.
So part of the question is where we are is right between New York and Philadelphia. If I go up to the city, I can get 2 or 3 dozen tattooers who are all world famous, who are all A-game tattooers, who are probably charging between $200 and $300 an hour, right? Guys that are the best. And a lot of guys around here who, no disrespect to anybody that tattoos in the area or who just haven't really made a rep or a name for themselves, are charging the same money. They're charging the same money as A-list tattooers. And I think it's fucking ridiculous that people wouldn't just take the ride.
So, and I agreed with you, but then it turned into, so who would you get a tattoo from for that kind of money? And then we'll circle back around to why we're talking about this. Because I do want to bring up that tattoo.
All right.
The back piece. The $50,000.
Yes. Holy shit. Yes. So if I were going to get an American traditional tattoo and pay that kind of money, I would pay that kind of money to Theo Mindel.
Okay.
From Santa Cruz. Because he's fucking extraordinary. If I were going to pay that kind of money for a religious piece, I would pay Freddie Corbin because he's fucking extraordinary. If Japanese piece, I would pay, if I was in America, Martin LaCase or some of the guys from New York, whose names are all escaping me because I'm fucking dumb. Eric Desmond. Things like that.
Okay.
I really I can't think of this dude's name. He works at New York Adorned.
So I only looked because I knew who it was going to be. It's RC. And RC said Jack Rudy is worthy. There you go. But Jack Rudy's also a legendary tattoo artist that you would be like, you know what? He was actually one of the ones that I brought up. So I was like, Jack Rudy, Paul Booth, Garver.
Chris O'Donnell, yeah.
O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell.
I mean, there's a couple that I'd be like, you know what, man? That's worth it. But the thing is, though, is when you have local people, Artie said, no, I asked my dad or do it myself. So, Artie, obviously you're a tattoo artist. Okay. I was going to ask who their dad was, but I don't want them to put it out on the internet for the whole world to see. But, we also talked about that where we were saying that there was local people that were charging that kind of money, when in reality, there might be somebody within the same neighborhood area that would do the same exact tattoo for half that price.
So
I think that people just don't search enough.
Right. So what you want to find is you want to find a guy that's really good that hasn't fucking broke. Right? If we're all fucking working people, we're all paying $20 for roast beef for a fucking pound, right?
Jesus.
Some of us more roast beef than others. So if you're looking, if it's a concern, money's a fucking concern. We're working people. Yeah, I look for a guy who's got the talent and the chops, but doesn't have the name yet, and so he's keeping his prices on the more reasonable side. Or I look for someone who's going to enjoy, are you going to enjoy doing this? Right?
Yeah. So is it something you want to do?
Right, because then of course you're going to get a sweeter price.
And the only reason this conversation came up was there was somebody on the internet. It was a couple. I guess it was a husband-wife team. And they posted a picture of this. It was amazing back piece. I'm not going to say it wasn't amazing. It was really, really good piece. But the dude got his whole back done, and they charged him $50,000, and it was $100 or 100 hours they spent on it. So they both charged him $250 an hour because they tattooed him in tandem.
Yep.
To me, I can't even fathom spending that kind of money on a tattoo, man.
$500 an hour, Horiyoshi 3.
I was trying to look at what RC said on my watching.
Horiyoshi 3.
So RC kind of made a pretty valid point. You have to remember 30 years ago, there were 50 amazing artists in the country. Today, there's maybe 500 amazing artists and probably more. And I mean amazing. There are 5,000 very good artists working in the U.S. right now and 25,000 basement scratchers. Yeah,
that might be something that we would want to look into.
So Drag just said here are 400 euros for a half a day.
Yeah, so I've seen that. I've seen shops eating
grabbing
food
a sandwich
and talking to his girlfriend, and yeah.
All right.
But we should look into it. Like RC brought up a good point of what is competent tattooing now. What's the line between competent and dog shit and competent and really fucking good? And I don't mean stylistically. I mean, because everybody's going to have their opinions about style and all, but what's a well put on tattoo now? Like when I started, it meant good lines, good shading, solid color.
Right. So Drag just said, but Gaken, I think that's how you pronounce it, and the Nisako get 200 euros for 4 hours, and they said Fame do it. So Drag is anybody else that's listening. Drag is from Spain, so he's doing his best to him or her to bang out English for us. Well, that's a lot of money. 2,000 euros for 4 hours. I mean, I if they're famous, okay, but to me that just seems
2,000 euros. That's what, $3,000, $2,500.
I don't know what it comes out. It's more than US.
Yeah, it's us plus a quarter, right?
Yeah, something like that. Crazy, man. But you know what? Hey, I'm not going to knock somebody for charging it, and I'm not going to, put the person down for getting it. If that's what they wanted to do, more power to them, man. I mean...
You're not going to call them a chump?
I ain't got that kind of scratch. I can't afford that. That is definitely not in my wheelhouse. So, yeah, I don't know. It seems like we had a little bit of a pause in our live stream, but we're back. Everything seems to be running. So,
and there's another thing too, man. Like I was going to bring this up earlier. I hired a guy years ago, and then a friend of mine gave me a call and said, listen, he posted his stuff on your Facebook, and that's not his work. He had actually taken screenshots of somebody else's and put vignettes around them.
Okay.
Right? And so, well, the reason I'm saying this is because there are people that lie.
Oh, for sure.
You know, just because, I mean...
Dude, I see it all the time on X. I mean, I'm at the point right now where I barely even go on there anymore because it turns into this, like, giant bitch fest about everything.
I mean...
But I've seen it a lot where people are talking about stealing other people's designs, and then you'll have the original artist that did it, and we're like, why would you bastardize my work like that? Because the second person that did it is doing like shitty compared to the original. Man, I mean, that turns into a giant shit show, to be honest with you.
So what I mean with that is just because a guy is saying that they're making $500 an hour online, are they? Are they? Or are they trying to boost sales?
Well, that goes along with the people that are like, hey, man, I'm booked out for the next year, 2 years.
Right.
Are they really? Or are they just doing a tattoo a day or a tattoo every other day or whatever? So, probably, well, one of them's dead.
Yes. If I could get an appointment with Mike Malone, I would pay a lot, as he would be a zombie.
Yeah, so RC was saying that our video's in and out or whatever. It'll catch up eventually. We're plugged right into the internet modem, so if it's doing that, it's the internet. Nothing we could do about it, folks. It's live. What are you gonna do?
So that's happened to me twice. And it was actually, there was a piece I did of 3 skulls, the Hear No Evil, See No Evil custom piece, and I saw it bastardized by someone else. And I did a shark on an elbow, and I saw it bastardized by someone else. And they both did shitty fucking jobs.
So I see that pretty regularly, and then I also see people talking about Flash being stolen pretty regularly. So,
I mean, anything I put on the internet, that's consent.
Well, because okay.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're putting it out to the world, you're saying, all right, it's good, it's free game. Okay.
There's the guy, I think his name is Jeremy Gaines. He does the flash sheets of punk rock albums. He did the Descendants. He did a Rancid album, a Social Distortion album.
Yeah.
And you can actually go onto his Facebook and post the tattoos that you've done of his like posters, and he's super chill about it.
So, I have an Alex Gray piece done, and all that he asks is you send him a picture of the tattoo when it's done. He wants to see it. You know what I mean? And if he digs it, he'll actually post it on his site.
So I did a.
But he's huge artist.
Yeah, he's
dude.
Alex Gray.
Yeah, I mean.
So I did there was a movie called Wizards by Bakshi.
Hold that thought while I'm thinking about it. If you guys are watching right now, please like the live stream. It actually sends it out to other people. I almost forgot again.
Right. Puts it out in the ethosphere.
Yeah, man. It pushes it out to more people so they can see this.
So I did a tattoo of the movie poster for the movie Wizards, and Bakshi's granddaughter actually liked it. And I was like,
see, but that's got to be cool as an artist.
Yeah.
You're getting props from the original artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's cool as hell, man. I don't understand that whole thing that happened with man, we are not having a good night, dude. We got police, we got crazy phones ringing, we got fucking trains going by. Welcome to Northeast Philadelphia. Where was I going with that? Oh, the Kat Von D thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, there was 2 sets of camps where they were like, screw her, she stole art, blah, blah, blah. And then there was the camp of, you can't copyright a picture I forget how they worded it, but they were basically siding with Kat Von D, saying, it's, you know what, dude? It's like you can't take a picture of, Devil's Tower and copyright it, and then somebody gets it tattooed, and then, you know what I mean?
So
I don't know where I was going with that. I lost my train of thought, man. Train of thought, boom.
So I would question whether that was just a nuisance suit that she just had the balls to be like, nah, I'm not paying you.
No, dude, you know what from what I started to, when I was doing the research, and I almost got more of the information after the fact, you know what I mean? Like after I did the video.
Isn't that something he does?
Well, yeah, and I actually did mention that in the video, but it was more of a money grab for him.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I think he got to the point where his work was not as out in the public eye or whatever as it used to be. So he was like, she did that tattoo. Let me go sue her. And then everybody will know who I am again. And to be honest with you, I forgot your name, bro. So, not talking about you, we're talking about Kat. How'd that work out for you?
So, Leo Zaletta from LA and Hanky Panky from Amsterdam.
Yep.
They were the guys that brought forth tribalism.
Okay.
I really a lot of different people worked with it, but I really think Zaletta and Hanky Panky. So imagine you're Leo Zaletta, you kind of spearhead this tattoo movement, and then 15 years later, they're selling license plate holders with tribal bands on them, right? And you're not getting any of that money. Think of how much shit had tribal designs on it.
Yeah.
And he just, yeah.
I think that's what Lau was saying, was he came to America, came over, went to a show or whatever out in LA, and he saw Leo doing the tribal stuff, and that's where he was like, whoa, man, and that's where he wound up tattooing that girl's head.
When it was still punk rock. Yeah.
The famous punk rock picture. So, it already said, good artists always get copied.
Absolutely.
For sure. I don't think there's any way you could stop it. Proof that he is really good.
So I have books by Martin LaCase, right? Tattoos out of Philadelphia. And in the beginning of his book, he's like, listen, if you want to use these designs to tattoo, use them to tattoo. But please don't pass them, don't tell your client that they're yours. At least tell them they're fucking mine.
Yeah, don't pass them off as
right.
Your... all right, so just because we're time-wise, I just want to make sure we don't forget about this.
Who saw the pic?
So we got people in chat right now, and we're going to do something pretty cool. This is my effort to try to get people to start watching the live stream. For the people that watched last Sunday's live stream, obviously we can't thank you enough for doing that, and can't thank you enough for being here tonight. Did you go through the shorts and find the short referencing the strangest place to get tattooed? And if you did, where was the place? Put it in chat right now. First person to answer, I will have you email me or go to the Tattoos and Review Instagram page and hit me up. But put it in chat right now, and I will send you a sticker and a free Tattoos and Review t-shirt.
So speaking of last week.
And if nobody answers, then hey, I don't have to give anything away.
So speaking of last week, right? What's the strangest tattoo I've ever done? I would say about 3 years ago, I thought that everything that could happen in a tattoo shop had happened to me, right? It's one of my favorite stories. Like, I'd been tattooing 25 years already. I thought, all right. So I'm tattooing, doing a guest spot, and these people come in, and it's just all loud, and I start going on about how I have 3 daughters by 3 different moms because I'm a pirate, right? I'm like, I'm Justin the motherfucking pirate, right? And this really pretty girl is like, Justin the pirate, I'll get that tattooed on my butt right now. And the whole shop stops, and I'm like, bullshit, you ain't got the fucking balls. I'll do it as soon as I'm done with this tattoo. And sure enough, to this day, to the best of my knowledge, there's a young lady walking around with Justin the Pirate tattooed on her posterior. Just when you thought everything that could happen in a tattoo shop had happened to you.
RC actually made a really good point. Ed Hardy made a fortune off of Sailor Jerry designs, putting them on clothes.
And isn't it funny how... All right.
Go ahead.
No. I mean, my whole generation knows the world of fucking Ed Hardy. I got nothing bad to say about him. He's fucking extraordinary tattooer. Met him, decent guy. But it is funny to me that, you know, he didn't promote Owen Jensen as the greatest tattooer ever, and he didn't promote Joe Lieber as the greatest tattooer ever. He promoted the guy's stuff that he owned as the greatest tattooer ever. Him and Malone owned all of Jerry's shit, and they're like, so you know what I mean?
So he picked a camp and ran with it.
Yeah.
Hey man, if that's who he wanted to stake his flag in, you know, I mean, was it smart business sense or was
absolutely, it was smart business sense.
Right. All right, so just so we kind of cover everything that we always try to bring up, make sure I got it up. Okay. We just want to go over a couple shows that are coming up that we think you guys would be interested in, and we want to make sure that you are informed. So the first one is Pagoda City. That's going to be coming up in August in Morgantown, which is basically Reading, PA. I know we have some people in here from other countries right now, but the list is nuts. Tons and tons of great artists that are going to be there. To me, this is probably one of the better tattoo conventions around. I mean, Inksmith and Rogers. We got Electric Tattoo. That's Schwaggart, right?
Mm-hmm. Da Vinci.
I mean,
Eric Maskey was Classic Fullerton. Eric passed away, but that was his shop.
So, tons and tons of great artists going to be there. If you are in the area, I almost said Aaron because I read Aaron. If you're going to be in the area, that might be something you want to check out for the Pagoda City Tattoo Expo in Morgantown. And if you need to check it out, it is pagodacitytattoofest.com. The next one that I'm going to bring up is the next one that's actually coming up. And that is the first annual New York City Tattoo Arts Convention happening July 26th, 27th, and 28th at Terminal 5 in New York City. Another heavy hitter tattoo convention. It was an invite only, right?
Yes.
And they only tried to invite what they thought was the best of the best, and it looks like it's going to be a huge turnout. Justin and I will be there on July 27th, walking around, hanging out, have a good time. If you see us, make sure you stop and say hello, and maybe I'll give you a sticker or a t-shirt, depending on what I got left. And let's just check out the lineup, man. I mean, those are some pretty heavy hitter names, man.
So the last time I saw Grimy tattooing at a convention, right? Because Grimy's arguably one of the best tattooers in the world. And he has like a real, I believe he came up out of the graffiti.
He did.
He came up out of graffiti, right? So everybody has these like super beautiful banners, right? Grimy takes a paper bag, writes Grimy on it, and tacks it behind himself. Because, yeah.
He doesn't need the fancy banner and all
that. Does not
that.
need the fancy banner.
But he's also, that's his attitude too, man.
Yeah.
He's got a unique attitude. Let's put it that way. It's,
I'm super looking forward to the New York City show.
It should be really cool, man. I am as well. And then the next one is the Norfolk Tattoo Expo, which is in October, and I forget the dates. 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th at the Sheraton Norfolk Waterside Hotel. I'm going to be there. So I'm definitely going down to check it out. Another amazing show. You could still get rooms, I think, for the convention. It's Old School Traditional Tattoo Convention. And on here is a list. They don't have like a list, but there's tons of Jack, Corey Miller, Sean Barber, Dana Brunson. I can't, man. I would love to sit and talk to that guy for a couple hours. The dude's got amazing tattoo history. Mike Perfetto.
Richie?
Shane Anderson.
I can't tell. I can't see.
But there's, if you need to check it out, it is NorfolkTattooExpo.com. Another amazing show, especially if you like old school, traditional stuff. That will be happening in October. Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of cool shows coming up, and, you know, it just seems like there's a convention every weekend now.
Yeah, but there's only so many. So that's something that we were thinking about. We were thinking about talking about is doing reviews of conventions. If people would be interested, they can let us know. Because for instance, like there's also a convention in New York City that's sponsored by Ink Magazine.
Yeah.
Right, going to be great artists, but it's going to be very different than the New York City convention, stylistically. And I didn't know if people would be interested in us, like, not reviewing conventions, but sort of going into what the
Convention's kind of about.
Yeah, the convention's kind of about.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're out there listening and that's something you think would be interesting, I mean, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Especially if I can go to it. If I can make it and give you an honest, like, how I felt about it, sure, that'd be cool. I know there's one coming up in Reno, too, that, man, I'd love to go to that. And it's Jesse Martinick. It's, I think they're the ones that are running it or sponsoring it.
Right. And if you have to follow Jesse Martinick on Instagram.
I think it's Body Graphics.
Yeah, you have to follow Jesse.
Hysterical skits, man.
Yeah.
The dude is out of his mind, hysterical. If you like funny, good tattoo humor, that's somebody that's kind of poking the bear at the tattoo industry right now, that is definitely a page you want to check out.
Yeah, because Jesse's tattoo royalty.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's also the Cali Grown. Man, I can't think of his name, but the dude with the spiky hair.
Not sure.
Adam Cali Grown. Dude, another guy that makes hysterical skits, man, of... both of those guys take everyday scenarios from tattoo shops and apply this funny, crazy spin to it that it just makes you laugh. Like, dude, the one I saw, he did one earlier and he did like part 2. This is Jesse. He did almost like a computer game.
Yeah, like
where the dudes are
traditional tattooer. Letterer, yeah. Strength, weakness.
But, we got the pleasure of meeting Jesse, I guess last year sometime, man. Great guy. Awesome to talk to.
Yeah.
Tons of history in his family, man. Whew. Crazy. All right, thank you for everyone that stopped out tonight. I appreciate it. Can't thank you guys enough. Thank you to all our subscribers. Can't do this page without you guys. Without you, we're nothing. So it's much appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. Pretty good show tonight, man.
Absolutely. You guys have a safe week. Looking forward to seeing you back here.
Next week I'll be flying solo by myself. So.
Because I'm going to go see a little band from California called Social Distortion.
Which we are going to go to later on. This round I'm not going to. But.
I'll be in the punk rock granddad section, not getting punched.
All right, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.